Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to our third check-in already. Can you believe it? Um, I've put a couple things in the agenda. I don't know if you all have any additional stuff, but just kind of going from the top. Quick update. Legal was able to do all the paperwork stuff last week, so we're all good on that. So we can share things with you that are like internal documents. Um, I was able to figure out what to do with getting you access to our Figma component library. It turns out we actually publish it as a community file. So I put some links to it in the agenda. I also put some links to it in the bookmark section of our shared Slack channel. I also put it in the resources document in that GitLab project. So there's different places where you can find it if you go looking for it. So you should be able to use that to use our components when doing design. So let me know how that goes for you. And then I wanted to follow up on some things from last week. You said that you were going to create a problem statement, scope slash proposal. You're going to make a task analysis or workflow diagram, write up a blurb, write some interview scripts. I know those last two you did a bit because I saw those. You also said you wanted to talk to some users to get feedback. I'm not sure if you've done any of that or heard back from anybody. Just kind of in general, kind of a check-in on how it's going, how the work of the last week went for this.
Yeah, so we presented our like problem and like scope and proposal to the class, and we also talked to our professor about kind of our problem and like how we are planning to approach the project. We did get some questions from our professor. So she did talk about the workflow and how kind of there's multiple aspects to like setting the issue, and in her own like company like she had a discussion of who should be kind of responsible for um move issuing like a problem or like moving the issue or like assigning tasks. So it was also a question we wanted to ask you guys about the workflow, that if we should focus specifically on developers and how they navigate the problem, or is it like kind of like a bigger picture of like all the stakeholders being involved in kind of the issue board. If you that was that confusing.
No, that makes sense. Chad, do you have I wish Dasha was on the call because I feel like she would probably have the best response.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think Linda is right that like the person who is assigned the issue is not the only person who needs to like understand what's going on with it. But on the other hand, you don't want your scope to be super wide for this project because you have a limited amount of time. Um, so, I think the question to you is like, what's the most focused set of people and activities that you want to support that you can focus on that will still be a meaningful improvement? Because if
Mm.
you narrow all the way down to like, I don't know, something super specific, like I want a technical writer to be able to understand the requirements of an issue within the first 5 minutes. That's like too specific. But if you say like, I want anyone at all who comes to this issue to like be able to get it right away or whatever, that may be trying to please too many people at once for a project of kind of this length. Um, yeah, deciding on the scope of the problem you want to address is hard. And this is like the phase in this kind of project where you end up doing that. I would encourage you to not be too picky in who you talk to in this initial round, but try to look for clues in the answers that they give you and the stories about their own experience with this sort of stuff that they tell for a place where there's like a center of activity that you can support, if that makes sense. That may cut across different personas. But yeah, you don't want to be too diffuse with it, basically.
So
Mhm.
that was also kind of like the problem we ran into. We just started this screener, and we just like weren't sure. Maybe we can go over this. together, but we just like weren't sure like what type of participants to recruit. Like, should it only be developers, or is it like developers and like designers? And there's like a whole like list of professions, and we just don't know like which ones apply to our scope.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know yet, right? So maybe in the very first round, don't be too picky about who you talk to. Like people who touch issues. And then see, like some of them will be duds. Some will be like, well, you don't really have too many like relevant problems to the area we're trying to work in. So like maybe this persona is not someone who we want to like look further into. But yeah, it's tricky because there's like a little bit of like a recursive chicken and egg problem with this at this stage where you're like, what's the scope? We need to figure out the scope is so we figure out who we want to talk to, but you kind of need to talk to some people to kind of like narrow in on like what the scope is actually going to be. So it's probably okay if you hold some ambiguity in this early phase and just like talk to some people and see how it goes. And some of those conversations won't really be that useful, but like it will be useful to know that it's not that useful to talk to someone who has those kinds of needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One thing you can do instead of trying to look at the participant's title is think about the tasks that they would be performing. That would allow you to kind of get at what Chad is saying. Like, I'm going to have to think about this after the call of how to word it, but something like, I don't know, I regularly pick up issues in sprints or something like that. And that would allow you to probably get away from somebody who's more of a management position because they're probably not picking up that. You're going to look at individual contributors at least. So you scope it down to individual contributors. And then from there, there's obviously still like designers, developers, it could be front end devs, back end devs. And then from there, you can pick up on the trends, like Chad was saying.
Got you.
Not so sure if we have a plan teams common screener, because normally in our group we have this kind of task question like, are you writing the YAML file to manage your pipeline? So it's very specific question and task included in. So perhaps if it is easier, if we have already some sort of templates.
Sorry, I'm writing it down. I'm not sure if there is or not. There's a Google document that I found that is kind of like a big like repository of screener questions, and it seemed like it had screener questions for different product areas. So there may be some plan specific ones in there, but I don't know of any documents that are like a plan specific like screener document. That could be a good question for us to ask Danica, but when she took a look at the Google Doc for the interview questions, I don't think she mentioned anything about like, oh, here's this thing that we use for a screener within plan. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think we should ask Danica, and then yeah, I'll also dig into the doc. Yeah, I'm on the doc, so I'll try to find it.
Thank you. And do you guys mind taking, I don't know if it's useful to like take a look at the screener together today briefly, because
Oh
we're
yeah,
a
sure.
little bit confused about how it should work. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Do you have a draft of that? You want to share your screen?
Let me do that. And then I'll link this in the chat later. So this is just like based on the template you sent, and I was like I haven't written a screener before, so is like the idea that you ask these questions and then for like certain ones, like you're like, oh, like this isn't someone we need. And then because I was confused if that's what we should be doing or it's like getting initial data on someone.
No, you can use them for like terminating. I saw that you have like a word close to it so you can terminate. So you can set up logic with the screener. So if somebody were to pick scientist, you could just have them go straight to the end and say, like, thanks for completing our screener, rather than asking them for their information to be able to set up a time to talk to you.
So is like the whole idea of all the questions is for that logic to happen or like, yeah.
Basically, yes. Yeah. It's for you to like screen out participants that wouldn't fit your criteria.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
So like this was like the basic screening questions that they have. And like I guess we weren't sure if we need all of these, right? Like maybe
hmm
it's just like if they deal with issues and then maybe their job title, but
Let's see. I think having a job title. So I think you should focus on the one about there one about tasks? There was like a that's developer task. Um, yeah, I think question 4 should be like your main thing to be able to um screen out the people that don't
yep.
match the task that you're looking for. But I do think it would be helpful to see the job title in addition. So maybe thinking on the spot, but maybe you just screen out based on answers to question 4, and then um, your the job title question you just get as background info, so you don't add logic to that one.
Okay.
I don't know. Chad and Sunjung, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, for external people, especially, they may work in a small company, right? They might be the CEO, but they also do development tasks regularly. So we wouldn't necessarily want to screen them out just because of their title, right? They might still be doing these things and have input on this process.
Got you. Okay.
I
That
also
makes
have oh, sorry. I have a question. So if we ask those questions in the screening phase, then do we need to ask questions about background in the interview necessarily?
Um, I would suggest yes, maybe not specifically in the way that you're asking in the screener, like what's your job title, but maybe just asking like I've found it being helpful to just get background, asking them what they do at their job and what their company does, because it kind of just like sets the stage for the rest of the conversation.
Yeah,
Does
I
that
think it's also a great way to just kick off the conversation and then just let them talk about themselves a little bit, and you'll get more like context on like which industry are they in, and then probably team structures. So I think it's still a good question to ask in the interview. So agreed with Gina.
Okay, that makes sense.
okay. And do you think like stuff like company size is good to include in the screener as just like getting some data, like
I
background?
don't necessarily think you need it in the screener, for two reasons. One, do you want to filter people out based on the fact that they work in a team of 2 people or a team of 10,000 people?
I guess no. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the shorter the screener is, the better, I think, because the people who you do actually want to talk to, you can ask them about this.
Mm, that's right. Yeah. We can just ask in the interview.
Yeah, one other thing, the leadership questions that you had, I think it was like the leader task question 5. Sorry.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Let me just read that really quickly because mm, I don't think you're gonna need those.
Mm-hmm. So maybe maybe our like draft is just if you deal with issue boards, like do you pick up issues and then one more for like your job title, and that should be pretty good, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Do you want to just share with us once you write that up and then we can give feedback async on the doc?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Okay. It sounds good. Thank you guys.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You had mentioned last week that you were thinking about creating a task analysis and workflow diagram. I don't know if you did that. I don't know if it makes sense to do that at this point.
We ended up not doing it because we felt like it would only be something very vague and we would like just make one after doing the interviews.
And you wrote up a blurb. Have you heard from anybody? Yeah, that's fine. It'll probably take a couple of touch points. I can ping folks again about that today. And then I saw your interview script. I haven't seen what Danika's feedback was. I left some comments in it. I don't know if anybody else is taking a look at it. But overall, I think it's pretty good. I think just I don't know if you have. I haven't looked, so that's on me. But I don't know if you have anything in your Notion that's like a document for you around like the things you want to make sure that you get answers about in the interview. But I would just encourage you to make sure that you have kind of that like internal like we need to get data on these things because that'll help you clarify what questions are necessary in the interview to make sure that like you're getting complete information. Um, so not having seen that, I don't know whether or not you're achieving that with the questions you have, but the questions make sense to me.
Yeah, I also briefly reviewed the template. I think it's really well structured and Chet left a lot of great comment. And I also saw that Danica perhaps finished her review because she also left a lot of suggestions there, which I agree with a lot of from her suggestions. So I think this is pretty good already. Good job.
Yeah, I think we will take a look at the comments later today and like kind of polish it before we actually like conduct the interview.
Yeah, our group is meeting later today, so we'll send you guys the updated screener and interview questions.
Cool.
Mhm.
The last thing checking in on from things you said last week, you said you wanted to talk to some users to get feedback on problem statement and task analysis. I'm not sure. Probably haven't done that yet because you're trying to recruit now. So that's fine. We'll leave that as an aspiration. The last thing that I put on the agenda was thank you all for getting back to me about like the skills you want to develop over the course of this project. I wanted to talk a little bit about how we can support you in those, maybe try to set some like personal goals for each of you to bear in mind to help yourself to do those. I went through, so I just copied what you all put in Slack and I kind of tried to highlight things that seemed like that's a that's a thing. Um, I dropped a couple of suggestions on some of these, but I'd love to see what everybody else thinks about them as well. You know, I don't want this to be like a bit like I think that takes up a lot of mental energy or whatever for you. You know, I want to try to find natural ways that we can weave into this project for you to achieve these things. But I just think that being explicit about it and trying to like get each of you kind of set some kind of personal goals or intentions around them will help you get there. Um, so yeah, Delia, you said you were interested in kind of learning and using out new testing methods. Um, I would say probably the best way to make sure you can do that is just like learn about what they are and what they're effective in doing, and then try to keep an eye out for places where those methods will be useful and effective as you're testing stuff, right? So you're probably going to have two opportunities. There's this initial testing that's kind of like problem validation, and then you'll do some solution validation later. So try to brush up a bit on like what those different methods are, just so you kind of spot like, ah, this is a great place for us to do card sorting or whatever.
Yeah, and I also added some couple of links in our handbook, and it's pretty well defined there, and it's public, so you can just try to take a look. And if you have any questions, you know where to reach out. So
Thank you.
yeah, sure.
And I would also encourage you, not just you, any of you, when I talked with Danica last week about, or was it last? I don't know, time. When I talked with Danica about like, oh, the students are doing this project isn't planned, whatever, would you be willing to participate a bit? She was pretty excited about it. She thinks that this is like, worthwhile problem to solve. A couple of the plan designers also were like, oh, nice. Like, I'm glad they're working on that. They also really underlined in the Slack conversation I had with them, like, I'm really glad that you like emphasize to the students that like we are weird users of our own product and don't just talk to people who work at GitLab about this. But I think she's open to, like chatting with you all about kind of like what it's like to be a user researcher, whatever. She's in our time zone. She lives in Boston. So I think she would be open to like scheduling something if you wanted to do like an AMA or something with her sometime this semester. I think she's open to that.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Moya, you said, project management skills, coordinating stuff, like seeing how feasible proposals are, keeping a project on time, and then also using a design system. So the design system one, I think that's going to happen. I don't think we necessarily need to put like specific effort into that because like if you're going to do design, we've got the Figma components. You try working with it and it'll be an iterative process. On the project management skill stuff, this year is the first time that we have a PM participating in this program. So I Dasha's not here this morning, but I want to see if she's open to doing kind of like a PM shadow if you're interested in that. Like it could be interesting for you to like just kind of like I don't know, for a day or a couple of days or something, just like go to all of her meetings with her and like see what she does kind of thing. You also, I'm realizing just now as I'm saying this, there are publicly available videos on our GitLab Unfiltered YouTube channel where you could also like see a PM in action. And it also would be a PM who like doesn't know that you're shadowing them. So like you can't accidentally like kind of like influence their process by observing them sort of thing. Like they know they're being recorded, but so that may also be a good place to look for kind of like examples of how they're doing those sorts of things. Um, for others, I mean, in terms of timeline, I was very impressed that like our first meeting, you already had like a Gantt chart going and all that sort of thing. So I think you're going in a good direction with that. Um, I think just keep being aware of like where you are in the chart and like what things are coming over the next hill for the team. If you can kind of keep that like higher perspective, kind of 10,000-foot bird's eye view of like we're gonna need to do this next week, so like let's think about it this week, whatever. That that's a thing that the project managers own.
Yeah, I saw your comments and I would love to shadow and like kind of like experience the day. I definitely talk to Dasha about it.
Yeah, I think like having opportunity to shadow is great. And regarding design side, if you get the access to use the Figma library, I'm happy to help if you're like just confused, like because it's just a lot of components are there, so it could be overwhelming from the beginning. And it's okay if something is not working as you expected. That might be not you. It might be a bug. So if you identify something, just let us know so we can figure this out together.
Yeah, thank you so much.
one other comment there. If you, in the past, some of the students hadn't used a Figma library before, so we designated just one session of our team meeting to just get started with it and like just using like a draft document type of thing. So if you're interested in doing that too, I would definitely be open to helping out with that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Sorry, I'm making bad radio by typing. Gina linked to our design system documentation. That's a really important resource. I should have thought to link that in some other things as well. You definitely are going to want to take a look at that. It gives some kind of rationale behind decisions about why things are or are not the way they are and why we do or don't use things. It's got kind of like usage suggestions. So that's going to help you, I think, if you've got questions about things. And then also I linked to, we have a storybook for our design system components kind of as they exist in code. So you might find yourself wanting to explore that because that will give you like the behaviors as it actually works in the browser for some of those things. Yeah, if you're not familiar with Storybook as well, you probably should poke around at it. It's a pretty common tool, like Sunjung just mentioned. It's great for components because it's basically just a way of like almost like giving you like an anatomy chart of the component. It gives you like all the different properties it accepts. If you write your code the right way, you can actually have documentation from the code come through to be displayed in the storybook, and then you can kind of like twiddle the knobs and levers to like make the component go into different states. So it's a really, I have found in the past that like as a designer, it's a great way to say like, I want it to be like this. Is that something the code can actually do? And you go poke around it and you go, yeah, great. That's exactly what I want to look like. I'm going to put it in design and I know that they can actually do it.
Hey, I'll definitely take a look at it.
You're about to leave. I really should have done you first. I'm sorry. Uh,
You're good. Yeah, I'm leaving in the 5 minutes.
yeah. So I think that if you're looking for like A/B tests and validating designs and stuff, I think a good challenge for you is like be the person who's got an eye on like, okay, how are we actually going to measure this? Like not only in the tests, you know, how are we going to like test that this is effective when we're testing out a prototype, but like how are we going to measure this when it's delivered? Like what data are we going to keep track of? That's something that it's hard to do, by which I mean it's hard to remember to do and follow through on doing. It's not hard to do technically, but like it's hard to remember to do. And I think it's really good to have someone in the team who has a plan for it, because if you put it in the plan, if you it's part of the conversation, then it's much more likely to happen.
Yeah, I think like what I was only hoping to get out of is just how to quantify the impact of the design, because like most of the metrics that I used before were mostly like qualitative metrics. So for example, user satisfaction or task completion rate. So I'm hoping to like get some more quantitative metrics in terms of that. And
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to want to do. I think, you know, pragmatically speaking, it's going to be good for all of you if you have quantitative metrics that either you have measured while testing or that you like want to build into the thing that gets implemented. Like that looks good for you for the stuff that's in your portfolio out of this. But it's also just a good practice to bring with you into your career. You know, the more data driven your decisions are about what solutions to go for, what problems to solve, the easier it is to build arguments that it should be prioritized and resources should be allocated to it, and the more likely it is to succeed, because like you're not just kind of going on a hunch or like, oh, people like really liked this design. That doesn't tell you whether or not it will like succeed. So I think that's it's a good place to have your head at for this. So try to be the quant in the team.
Yeah. I fully agree with what Chad said, and I think it's also very important to keep that in mind. Like, what's the success metrics like for these solutions already in the design phase? And otherwise, it's so easy to be just missed because of many different reasons. We don't have enough time, or we don't have more resources, like for whatever reason. So yeah, I like put that in mind already when you're start to designing something, and then this will like just come like follow just naturally, but otherwise it could not be happen because you know. But I think it's a great practice for sure, and
Definitely.
it's a great addition to your portfolios as well.
Yeah. Sounds good. Also, I have to hop off. See
Yeah.
you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Emily, you said different research techniques, prototyping, like discovering insights. And then I didn't highlight or I didn't bold this because I wasn't sure what word to bold, but the last thing you said is really interesting to me as well. Knowing about the whole company application process of the designs. I, I interpret that as meaning like how do you get like handoff, or how do you get from like this is a design to like this is a real part of the product? But like I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit to what you meant about that, because that seems like an interesting one to support and give you some experience with.
No, yeah, for sure. I think definitely like the handoff process. And then I saw that Gina had asked specifically about the design developer collaboration. So I think for sure like that's the point that I was getting at in terms of like I feel like there's two parts. The first part being like in creating the designs, how to like still keep in mind like specific like company stakeholders. So thinking of like anticipating pushback from like developers and stuff, which I think kind of is aligned with Anne's point of like how to quantify like results and stuff. And so yeah, I think like presenting how to like present your case essentially and thinking about that during your design process. But then also I'm just thinking about like once you have the initial design and then you're trying to pass it on, like what do the next steps look like in that case? And then like is there, I would assume yes, like there's back and forth between developers and then designers and stuff. And just like I was just curious to learn like what that looked like.
Yeah, adding on to Emily's point, I think that a lot of the projects we've done, it's like the final design deliverable and that's it. And we've never gone past kind of like how do you hand it off? I've seen like the kind of like grid lines and like all the details that should be done. I think like all of us probably don't like have that much experience because we always end at like the final design.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't get that experience until you work in a real team and like someone actually is going to really build the thing you designed. This is actually something that we talked about last year with our students as well, because like they were like, oh, like I kind of wish we could do the handoff part. Um, you know, I might put it to you as a challenge point to like think about at the end of this process, can you figure out a way to time being done with everything such that we could try to do like a dry run with like whatever PM and engineering manager would be relevant for this, to try to like have them kind of like groom this for what you know for development with you. It would take some time, right? You basically would have to kind of finish everything a weekish earlier than planned or something, but that could be a really valuable experience for you if you can pull it off.
Yeah.
We can definitely try.
Or I'm not so sure if this time allows, but it's also a great way to involve engineers in your design phase, like such as you can run a async design review, including at least one engineer, like probably one engineering manager. We can ask for their help and getting their feedback. Like most of their feedback probably focus on the feasibility and also something about functionality concerns. I think it would be great if we could also get some help, at least one from the engineering team.
That's a great point. You don't have to wait
Yeah.
until the end. You can do this kind of incrementally as you go. Yeah, we can probably find somebody from Bland to give you some feedback on your prototype. Emily, going back to your point about like keeping stakeholders in mind, anticipating feedback. I'm very impressed that you have that in mind. That's advanced designer judo. It definitely does happen in the real world. I think that the more data driven you are, the more undeniable the work is. Like you can't argue with the numbers. You know, you can argue with like, I don't like the color or whatever. Um, but I think trying to be fact driven in your work and trying to solve problems that have a real business impact is the best way to cut any of that off at the pass. Because the pushback you would get from someone would be that they don't believe it's a problem we're solving or they don't believe it's a good solution. And if you can show why it's a problem we're solving and show why it's a solution that's effective, then
No, yeah, for sure. That makes sense. I think it definitely came to mind because one of my professors currently like he's like directly in the field and it's interesting to hear of kind of like social dynamics of working in an actual company. So yeah.
and actually on that point, and this is related as well to like trying to get some experience with handoff. It is important to develop empathy for the developers, the people who have to like deal with your stuff once you're done with it, like in a way, being a designer is almost kind of like being like a what they call an AI, a prompt engineer, right? But the AI that you're giving a prompt to is like an intelligent human being. So like, yeah, it would be nice to be able to get you some experience as well with like getting kind of like getting some of that feedback from a developer of like, oh, well, you designed this, but like that part actually is going to be really hard to build. So can we compromise on that in some way? Or like, oh, you weren't sure if this would be hard or not, but like we can absolutely do this. This is like easy peasy kind of thing. Like, um, yeah, it would be good to be able to get you all some experience with that. And I think it was really smart of you, Sunjung, to say, hey, we can do the async when they've got designs. As far as prototyping goes, well, you said prototyping for developer collaboration, so I really probably should have bolded that entire thing because I think that maybe I slightly misinterpreted what you meant. But like, prototyping I think will come with this. Um, Depending
Yeah.
on what your solution is and what your appetite for it is, there could also maybe be opportunity for you to do live code prototyping, but I don't know like where your comfort level with any of that stuff is, or level of interest.
There I think I was gonna like clarify like specifically since you said there was a confusion with the phrase. I think when you had mentioned like specifically looking at different things to implement and like whether it's harder or easier for developers, I think that's definitely what I was thinking about because I think my thought process through that was like, well, if I already know this information, then like when I create the designs, like then it's kind of like a step ahead of during the creation process. So yeah, that's kind of where I was getting at.
Cool. Yeah, good. All good stuff. I think that the skills that the four of you want to develop are relevant, are going to help you a lot, and I think working on them is going to help make this project more successful for you. So I'm excited to see how you do it. Um, that's the end of the agenda items I had. I don't know if you all had anything else.
I have like a quick question. So with research, we talked to Linda and she said we should use Dovetail. And she told us to ask you guys about like the license and if you're able to kind of share the license to us like the last year's group, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I wasn't too involved in the way that was set up. Gina, was it just as easy as like you like did an AR and then they like got users and whatever, or
Um, great question because I think that they created their own workspace that was not in the GitLab workspace.
Oh, interesting. So they just had like a
Mhm.
free thing?
I think potentially I'm gonna do some research into that and I'll get back to you in Slack if that's all right. Because
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't think we don't need an answer right away on this. Yeah, but I do think that there's a couple reasons that it would be good for you to use Dovetail. First of all, it's like a very common tool, so it's good for you to be able to say you know how to use it and you've used it before. But also it is useful. There's a reason that it's a common tool, so it is going to help you like get information out of your research results. Now that like all the paperwork stuff is done on the legal side, we can also share stuff from our Dovetail with you that's relevant to this. That I think would be a question for Danica about where that is and what that is that would be relevant for this. Um, but yeah, we'll have to see what makes sense for the way that you get set up to use that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Mhm. Okay, so if we don't have any other agenda items for today, then let's talk a little bit about what we want to check in about next week. Next week, yeah, we're meeting next week. Um, so that I think is it's up to you. Like, what do you want to be checking in about next time?
Mhm. We're hoping to like launch the screener and kind of start like the research. So I don't know if it's too soon to like start actually interviewing, but we'll definitely get like participants to interview and like we'll probably be asking like, oh, like who we should pick or like the participant pool. That's our goal for next week and potentially start like the interview process as well.
Cool. Uh, I mean that's a big one. I don't know if there's any other stuff, but that's like a a good one to check in on. I think that on our end, we'll get back to you about the dovetail part. Was there anything else that we need to get back to you about? I think there was.
don't we need to
Ask about.
prepare
Oh,
just to have preparing for the recruitment for that? Are we gonna do we need to set them up with like on Rally? That's a team. We use this tool called Rally that helps us recruit external users. Is this primarily going to be internal users or is it also external?
We're trying to get both so that it's different because I remember I think Chad mentioned that like they use the platform differently. So I think it would be great to like get both sides, but it depends on if we get participants as well.
Yeah. I think it would be good to get a mix. Maybe we can I I could take the action item, Chad, if you want to just link up with Kate and see if we can just get Rally done on our side so she doesn't have to be involved. That
mm,
they can. So the only thing that we would need for that is a screener, and I believe we need to link it with your Google Calendar and a Zoom link.
yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
Okay.
Because for context, the way that it works basically is like the people will schedule themselves in the blocks that you have, if they like kind of pass through your screener.
Yeah, we actually have like time slots that we arrange for our team, so we can definitely send that over with the Zoom link as well.
Okay, that works. We'll figure it out. We might be able to still use Did you do it with Calendly, the time slots, or is it with something else?
No, we just use like when to meet and then
Okay, that's fine.
Make a Calendly link. If that's how it works.
Yeah, no, I think it's okay for right now. I'll figure it out. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling. I will figure it out and let you know on Slack.
And then earlier in this call, we had also said that we may be able to check with Danica about whether there's like any plan specific screener stuff. I will follow up with her on that because I think that's going to be helpful for you in setting that stuff up. I do think that like a subset of the stuff that you showed us in that Google Doc, Delia, is probably a good screener for this. But yeah, just in case, like we'll see if there's any stuff that the plan team uses for that that may be helpful.
Sounds good.
I think that's it. Am I missing anything?
No, I did quickly look into that dovetail that the students used last year, and they did use a free version, which I believe I can just share. So they have a GitLab Tufts workspace that they created. Maybe I'll just add your emails, everybody's emails to that, and then you can just create a new project in that workspace for this project. Might as well just use the same thing.
Yeah, that works as
well. Nice.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think that's that. Have a great week. We'll see you in the Slack and we'll see you next week.
Yes, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.